Phantasm Ravager is the fifth part in Don Coscarelli's Phantasm saga, released 18 years after part 4. This straight-to-video movie was a hit, but the last in the franchise for many reasons, as I'll be discussing with Adam Whybray in this episode. First time either of us have watched the movie. If you've been listening to the Beyond Graves and Stars shows so far, we've been dipping in and out of this franchise over the past about 6 months. Every now and then Adam has been coming on to join me. We haven't seen any of these sequels before, and I've been really looking forward to watching this movie. I've seen the trailer and my hopes aren't that high. It looks very CGI heavy and a lot cheaper than the others. But Adam is coming round, we're going to watch it, and fingers crossed, because so far we've both really enjoyed analysing these films, really. And I hope you guys have had fun listening. This is the last part of this. I'll be talking to Adam. He will be coming back on for some other episodes. But if you want more of him, you can check him out on his own podcast, The Still Scared Children's Horror, which you can find on all platforms. So right, I'm going to play you the trailer now, and then I'll be back to talk about the film. It will be spoiler heavy, so if you don't want any spoilers, suggest you watch the movie before.
Some schools of thought that suggest the possibility that one could be in two places at once. I can't tell what's real anymore. So I wander, following the tall man's path of destruction. One eye out for those spheres, and the other for him.
He is clearly delusional.
They're not even real. You're my bad dream. Stay out of my way.
Well, it really is an amazing story.
Epic, actually.
Adam, thanks for returning for the fifth time and for the last time, for Phantasm anyway.
Yes.
How have you been?
I've been okay. I actually slept better last night, so I'm fairly peppy. I'm due to go into the hospital though in a couple of weeks. I'm donating a kidney to a former student, notably a student who never threw glue at me. So I was like, well, for that you deserve a kidney. So
there we go. So treat your teachers and lecturers well, and like I say to any younger listeners out there, or mature students.
Yeah.
So
and they're more likely to need the kidney.
Exactly. So that's so. Yes, you've been up to stuff. That's what we have to say. And the last one you came on, part 4, you had a bad night's sleep, but you're more raring to go.
I am more raring to go, and quite a bit of this took place in a hospital and retirement home. And so it inspired me to, like Reggie, really throw myself into full-scale delusion after I dosed up with anaesthetic and painkillers.
Yes, it might be a good time to rewatch them as well.
Yeah.
So, right, I'm going to just read the letterbox synopsis, which saves us some in the plot up, but I'm not very happy with this synopsis, but I'm going to read it.
Okay,
anyway.
I want to hear it.
Okay, so it's Phantasm Ravager. That's part 5. The final game now begins. Brothers Mike and Jody join family friend Reggie to battle the Tall Man and his evil minions from another dimension for the final time. That's the vaguest plot synopsis and not that accurate.
It's not. I mean, Jody only appears in the last sort of 15 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
So that's not a very good. It's very focused on Reggie, and across these 5 films, Reggie has very much become the protagonist and fan favourite.
Definitely. And if you've seen or listened to the last podcast we done on part 4, it ended in a way that they could have ended the franchise. It implies that Mike dies, and basically that's it. But Reggie's back to start with. He's wandering it's like a post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah, I mean, the Tall Man has clearly continued unabated, unbothered by Reggie and Mike, has continued just laying waste to the world and depopulating places to get his new zombie alien minions to... We go briefly to his planet, and I honestly don't see what work he's got for them to do. Like, the planet just looks like a hellscape, like a sort of hot desert hellscape, and it's like, what work? There's no infrastructure.
Yeah.
I don't really see what they even do. What do these alien slaves have to do on this planet? What work is there?
Exactly, and I think that's why they want out, and that's why they want our planet or our dimension or whatever.
Fair point.
But it does look like, I'd want to go on a killing spree if I lived there.
Yeah, it looks bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tall Man has continued his malarkey, and Reggie has continued stalking across the states of America, seemingly generally, always looks sort of like the Midwest to me, I guess, but generally going across the desert in search of his really one friend and beloved Mike, even though his family that we never met, who were killed in like the second film or third film, one of them, they get a mention, but let's be honest, it's only really Mike that Reggie cares about, and so he's continuing his quest to find Mike, even though we think Mike's probably dead, but it doesn't matter. Reggie's never going to give up trying to find Mike.
This goes back and forth between over different realities or dreams, or we don't really know.
And there's always been that dreamlike aspect, Phantasm, to be fair. It's probably done in a more genuinely dreamlike, oniric way in the early films. Like that, the first Phantasm obviously is notable for having this, it's not quite Lynchian, but this sort of slight pop surrealist kind of wooziness when you're not quite sure what you're seeing is reality. And this film really leans into that. So what we're seeing might be real, or it might just be that Reggie's started to really lose it in his old age.
But you don't know, and that's kind of what works with this franchise. You can interpret it in different ways.
Yeah. It kind of works here and it doesn't. In some ways it works because it keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
And I kind of like, because you follow this franchise through from the 70s to the near present. When did this film come out?
2016.
Okay.
So 9 years ago, but still very recent.
Yeah, and you've seen the cast age up. Mike from being literally a kid to kind of late middle age.
Yeah.
And I think that does give it a certain kind of potency and a certain sadness, seeing these characters get old.
Yeah.
And I do like that. You said you weren't so sure about... So it's possible that this whole film is basically the deluded vision quest of a man who's dying of old age and dementia. Yeah. So we do cut back repeatedly to Reggie being in an old folks' home, looking quite decrepit, looking very grey and confused. And, nurses and doctors trying to calm him down, saying, no, this is all in your head. And Mike coming to visit him in the home.
Yeah. There's even one scene where he turns and Mike's disappeared, so it implies that Mike might even be in his head.
Yeah.
And but how I would like to interpret this film is it does say that there are thousands of tall men, thousands of different dimensions.
And that must be true because we've seen them get killed over and over again.
Exactly. So I think in this movie it's saying, okay, maybe Reggie's time in this dimension is gone, but he'll carry on fighting it in other dimensions.
No, so it's a bit like the Phantasm multiverse.
Yeah, that's how I'd like to interpret it. because I don't want Reggie to die.
Oh, well, say, look, the film, that's the thing with film, Andy. Like, he'll continue in the film world in your heart forever.
Exactly. That's why Mahoney and the Police Academy franchise will always live in my heart. So yeah, but you can take it different ways.
Yeah.
This is the first one to be directed by someone other than Don Coscarelli. It's directed by a guy called David Hartman, who hasn't actually done that much. His other directing credits are an animated Transformers special episode called Transformers Robots in Disguise, King of the Hill, which I really would love to be a crossover with the series.
Well, as in his directed episodes of King of the Hill?
No, it's Transformers.
Oh, I thought he was like King of the Hill. I'm now imagining like Dale from King of the Hill.
And he's done a movie called My Friends Tigger and Pooh, Friendly Tales. That sounds awesome. Hopefully that'll cross over with some of the...
some of these new classics that you enjoy so much.
I call them Childhood Ruins, the Poohniverse, but no, it's a Disney cartoon, and he's directed one other movie, Tigger and Pooh, and a musical too, which is a 58-minute special Disney. Other than that, he's done art direction on Stuart Little 3, and that Transformers movie I mentioned, and another Transformers Prime episode. So really, he's a lot of animation, but visual effects, this is where the connection comes. He done the visual effects on Johnny Dies at the End, which is another film, and Bubba Hotep.
Okay.
So I think he's friends with Coscarelli. They worked together before. So for whatever reason, Coscarelli didn't want to direct this movie. So he got someone in, a hired hand who he trusts.
And I think the direction is fine. Like, it's workmanlike. There's nothing particularly bad about the direction. There's nothing particularly striking about it either. But I will say, and it is a bit damning with faint praise, this film is better than I expected.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it might be pretty dire. It's been, by fans, I saw a lot of criticism due to the use of CGI. And actually, yeah, the CGI is a bit ropey. It didn't bother me that much. So there are a few bits where there's CGI blood rather than practical effects.
I pointed out straight away.
Yeah, and that is a shame. But actually, the bits where you get the more kind of full-blown CGI of like complete apocalyptic wasteland, it looks a bit like a kind of early Resident Evil game. That actually weirdly worked for me. One, because it looks so kind of weird and sort of uncanny. But there's not loads of it. And secondly, it's like this stuff maybe is just Reggie's kind of delusional dreams anyway. And so the fact that it looked kind of unreal kind of worked for me because I was never wholly taking that seriously as reality anyway. Yeah. So that didn't... It's a bit like... Now, I don't think this is on the level of Twin Peaks The Return, I will say. There are some weird similarities with Twin Peaks The Return, oddly, and it came out around the same time. And one of the similarities is that in Twin Peaks The Return, there's again the use of kind of CGI and digital effects that look very obviously digital, that do not look integrated at all. Yeah. But it doesn't really matter, and I'm sure with Lynch it's kind of intentional, but the thing is, you're dealing with different planes of reality. You're not always meant to take all of this as kind of, oh, this exists definitely on our objective plane of reality. And that's what's happening here. So actually, it didn't bother me that much. I thought it was all right.
That's how I felt, and it was one of my excuses, my many excuses for the Flash movie that came out a few years ago. Okay. They go into a lot of different multiverses, and there's some CGI that was heavily criticised for a big budget film, but it's not this reality. Yeah. And I think with that movie and this one more so because on a smaller budget, no movie's got an unlimited budget, and sometimes they want to do things which are too difficult to do. Yeah. And so they just do what they can. And when it isn't in a real, in this world, this reality, I think you can let it go a bit.
Yeah, I agree.
But the subtle CGI, like all the stuff with the spheres now is CGI, I think that looked pretty good.
The spheres look decent.
Yeah, I can't criticise it. I'm just going to see. I'm not going to lie, I didn't do much research before because this is the 5th one we've done. So I'm like, let's just dive in. But I couldn't find the budget for this movie at all, anywhere. But I imagine it's not very high.
I don't think it's very high, but they make great use of location shooting. So there's not many not many sets used in this film compared to previous films.
Yeah.
That there is quite a lot of just shooting outside on location and then some CGI. And actually, I think that works pretty well. I do like those kind of desert locations they use in Phantasm. I will say though, first Phantasm film I think that hasn't had a car explode.
Oh, that's true.
And that might speak to a lower budget.
When it started and he's just walking along the road, you commented that is it so low budget they can't afford a car in this one, which I wasn't going to argue.
It's impossible.
I thought the same, but there are the cars for the car fans. We don't talk much about that because we don't really know. That scene weirded me out a bit because why is Reggie just walking in the middle of the road and then he gets annoyed that a car wants him out of the way?
Yeah, and Reggie seems quite affronted by this, and it seems fairly reasonable, to be honest, that the driver. But it turns out that the driver's actually nicked Reggie's car. Reggie turns a gun on him, gets his car back, and then actually gets to Trey. He was wearing his beaten up, now rather tatty ice cream uniform, and he forces the guy to strip down to his pants and wear his ice cream uniform, while Reggie gets his nice coat, and then this jerk gets killed by one of the spheres.
Yeah, and at one point when he's been stripped down, he's covering up his private parts, but has pants on anyway. That seems that was weird.
Interesting.
Yeah. So first of all, they just edited it bad, and you can see that he's got pants on. But that guy was a jerk and deserved to die.
Oh, and another change to previous films. Reggie gets love interest is a bit strong. Let's be honest. Reggie gets Reggie gets to spend time with a woman who he's desperately interested in because Reggie is, as ever, desperately lonely. Yeah. And she doesn't turn out to be evil, as far as I could tell. No. So, I thought I'd learnt from these films that all women are evil and can't be trusted. but luckily, this film has taught me the error of my ways, and that actually some women can be trusted. Yeah. And so it was okay that the woman turned Reggie down and didn't sleep with him, as is ever the way in Phantasm. Well, pretty much. Yeah. Because she was nice after all. So there we go. That was good.
That was a twist I didn't expect.
It was a twist.
And I assumed her to do something like take her top off, and instead of seeing her bare chest, we saw the tall man's head pop out, but nothing like that happened.
Nothing like that happened. It was quite tasteful as it goes. So there we go.
And like all the women he's attracted to, she looks like she should be starring in a daytime soap.
Yeah.
Played by Dawn Cody. Who the character's name was Dawn as well. So was she playing herself? We don't know.
He clearly imprinted very hard on Dallas or Neighbours when he was young.
Just a little bit of information on her. She was in the Sarah Silverman program.
Oh, cool.
Pleasantville. Not too much else. A few other smaller roles in movies. But interestingly, she was born. This is on IMDb for this. She was born on the 23rd of December. But they don't know the year. It just says 19 and then... ...
No, question mark.
So we know from that, because it was made in 2016, she's over 16 when they made this film.
Oh, well, I think I felt comfortable.
No, I reckon she'd have been late 20s in this.
Yes, that sounds about right.
Yeah. But she was
still too young for Reggie.
They were all too young.
They're all too young for Reggie. Reggie does try to compose her a song. We get Reggie playing his acoustic guitar. Like the old hippie he is, and he tries to write a song about her and the light of her eyes and things. And there's quite an entertaining scene later where he's in either one of the other universes or his delusions in this sort of post-apocalyptic future dystopian hellscape where the Hellman has kind of taken the tall man has taken over, and he kind of meets what he thinks is Dawn, this woman, but she's now called Jane, and he's like, you remember me? Remember I wrote that song, like the light in your eyes and from the sun, and it's impressively cringy, and they're just going to look at him with pity.
Do you think, I just had a thought, played by Dawn Cody, the character's called Dawn. Do you think it's a thing in this film of if they can be trusted, the actor uses the real name? Because Mike's played by Michael Baldwin, or Michael Baldwin. Reggie's Reggie Bannister. The brother, who in some of the films you can't trust, Jodie's played by Bill Thornbury. So maybe that's just a little thing they've put in.
That's really neat, if so.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I don't think it's true, but that's
It's a cool theory.
Yeah.
Cool fan theory.
Yeah, and all the cast, as ever, they do their job well.
And they come back. You know, it's good to see old favourites.
Yeah, we've got, as well as Jodie, Mike and Reggie, from the first film, the lady in lavender, Kathy Lester's back. We spoke about her in the first episode.
Yeah, there's a nice little scary bit with her.
Yeah, and there was a bit more horror in this one as well. And is it a spoiler? It doesn't matter because we do spoilers anyway. Gloria Lynn Henry's back at the very end as Rocky.
What is she just at the very end? She's really great. Yeah. Like, I don't know, maybe she wasn't available for shooting and then they just did a little extra scene of her.
I get the impression that she's probably retired from acting. Okay. So they've got her back as a cameo.
Fair enough.
That's my guess.
She's good. She's charismatic.
And it is good to see her. And the way it ends is it implies that, you know, she carries on with this new character.
It does set up the potential for another film, doesn't it?
Yeah, with this new character.
Although Angus Scrimm has now died, so we can't actually have the tall man anymore.
This is the thing. The way she goes off with Reggie and this new character.
Yeah.
Who can't even find the actor's name. But they go off into the battle zone, so to speak, and it could be set up for more sequels. But I like to think that it's ended in a way of, you know, they're just out there fighting evil, and that's how it.
Like the dude abides. They're out there fighting the good fight.
Yeah, that's how I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
And should we mention this new character? He just sort of appears in one of the dimensions.
It's a bit odd.
Is his name Chuck?
Yeah.
And he's teamed up with Dawn, who in this dimension is called Jane, I believe.
Yes.
And they're basically battling the tall men.
They're like survivors, basically.
Yeah. It really reminded me of when you see the future in Terminator.
Yes, I suspect it was meant to be like that. To me, I just kept thinking of Resident Evil. There are times where I just had flashbacks to me and my brother playing Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles, the light gun game adaptation of the Resident Evil series, and playing that with my brother Leon, shooting zombies.
And this would have been well after Resident Evil, so probably is influenced by that as well.
Yeah, it does genuinely look quite Resident Evil-y at times. But yeah, I think all those sequences work. I could have done with actually some more sequences. I think you only get one, maybe two, in the Civil War era.
Yes.
Which you got quite a bit of in the last film, and I don't know, I quite like it. I quite like maybe because it gives Angus Scrimm more to do in a slightly different, softer role. This idea of the tall man before he became the tall man, when he was just this Civil War era doctor called Jebediah, I think. And I kind of wished we had a few more of those.
Just to give him more to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know how his health was.
You said he died a year after.
Well, I'm going to check that. He died soon after. And he's in the last movie, he was given a lot more to do. But the one before was, 14 years before this.
Yeah, actually, that is quite a large gap.
So, he died the same year.
Oh, wow.
So, he died in January 9th, the year it was released. So obviously he must have died not long after shooting.
In a way, this is, again, something that reminds me weirdly of Twin Peaks The Return, where obviously a lot of cast members, died very soon after shooting and broadcast.
Yeah. So, and that's because watching that, I watched it when I was on the TV run.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there was at least one actor who had passed, and then you see them. The guy out of RoboCop.
Yes, what's he called? Albert Ferreira?
I can't.
No, someone. Michael Ferreira.
So the guy who's also
who plays Albert in Twin Peaks.
Yeah, he's also in Hot Shots.
Yes, he is.
There's a War. It's great. Because he died before his broadcast.
Yeah, I think he had cancer while filming.
Yeah.
And I always forget her name. Old friend of Lynch's, who played the log lady, Margaret Letterman.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
She looks very ill in The Return. You can tell that she's dying.
Yeah.
I don't. It's weird. I do think about Twin Peaks quite a lot, admittedly, but it did make me think of The Return a little bit strangely. I guess I like it when you've got a sequel that is actually trying to deal with change and trying to deal with the fact that your cast is so much older and tries to actually work that into the plot.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do well because there's obviously a lot of it's filmed with Reggie looking his age.
Yeah.
And then probably 60-70% of it is they've basically dyed his hair and made him look a bit. But it works. When you first like you're like, okay, he has dyed his hair, but you don't think much about it. And then the subtle effects between him looking old and younger really work.
Oh yeah, that does work actually. And there is something a little gutting about seeing him looking his age, looking genuinely elderly and having grey hair. I mean, you compared it to Bubba Hotep.
Yes, the Old People's Home.
Yeah.
Definitely put that in my head. And that was made a few years before this, 14 years. Was it a while before it? Maybe I might be getting things wrong. Maybe Phantasm 4 was 2000.
Okay.
And Bubba Hotep was 2002.
But it's interesting seeing those parallels.
Yeah, I think you can tell that Coscarelli may have thought about that idea when making Bubba Hotep. Just checked. Phantasm 4 Oblivion is actually 1998. So even longer before.
Yeah, so a big gap. But no, I'm glad this film exists. I know I've looked on Letterboxd. I know quite a few people are down on it, and yeah, it is. As is probably to be expected when you get to film number 5 in a series. It is diminishing returns. It's not as strong as the earlier films, but it's not dire by any means.
I mean, it's got. I'll just go through the ratings. Letterboxd has got 2.3, which isn't hideous for a sequel.
In fairness,
I still think
I'd give it a little higher.
Yeah, I definitely would. But I think a lot of people will just the sort of cheapness of it, the CGI. But we've been through this before. It's like you can't expect a low budget film to always look high budget.
Yeah, and there are ways of maybe potentially going around this. I mean, one reason maybe Lynch has impressed me so much, or impressed me so much over his career, was that obviously he dealt with very different budgets over his career and still managed to make things look aesthetically convincing. Something like Eraserhead, it partly works because it's in black and white. Some of those special effects would not look good in colour.
That's true. But also a lot of directors, I think we've definitely mentioned this before, the guy who done the 2015 Fantastic Four.
Oh yeah.
He came from a low budget film before, was it Chronicle?
Okay.
And that done really well, looked great, given a high budget, didn't work, the film bombed.
And well, that's true, I think, actually, I don't know if you've watched many Benson and Moorhead films. Like The Endless, for instance.
No.
So they're interesting. You might quite like them, sort of sci-fi horror filmmakers, and they're ones who actually I think work better with the limitations of a low budget, and as soon as they're giving a higher budget it doesn't work as well. They kind of need those restrictions.
And you're like we said with part 4, because in part 4 it doesn't go so crazy, but there are a few really well done set pieces that you can't really fault, and I think they've concentrated on those opposed to being too trying to do too much, as I say.
I mean, I think 4 does have better cinematography, and it probably is better directed. It's got those sort of more iconic moments, like the scene where Mike tries to hang himself on the tree in the desert, and that's great. That's like really striking. I don't know if 5 has anything quite that strong, but as you said, things like the spheres actually look quite good here. I guess that's the beauty of the simplicity of the design. But they look fine in CGI. They totally do.
And there's no reflections on them. and you've got to think as well, the guy who directed it, he hasn't actually directed anything else live action. So it's not that bad for considering that, And I think Coscarelli, maybe his age, or I bet he was on set a lot. I bet he had more because he co-wrote it and produced it.
Yes.
It might be almost Spielberg in Poltergeist.
Maybe. Yeah, it's hard to say, but I think
for listeners who don't get that reference, Steven Spielberg directed Poltergeist.
well,
no, a lot of
Toby Hooper was credited, but it feels much more like a Spielberg film.
Yeah.
There are moments that feel Whybray, but he was also, I think, quite coke addicted at that point, wasn't he?
Yeah. so maybe we'll call it a collaboration.
Yeah.
I met him once, so I daren't ask him. He probably gets asked that every day.
I imagine he does.
Yeah. Did you do that job you got paid for?
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, Phantasm 5, like, I don't think, it's not a limp squib. Is that a phrase? Limp duck? Limp
if it
squib?
isn't, it is now.
Yeah. It's a fine film to the series properly to end on, I think. I felt quite satisfied with it, and as ever with Phantasm, I was never really bored. I felt engaged throughout, and I actually think that's I wouldn't say that was true of, say, Halloween 4, for instance.
Boring.
I think it's boring. I think it's got moments, but I think overall it's quite a boring film. You've said that Trancers.
Yeah, the last one of those was bad. This isn't bad.
Yeah.
It's not one that if you were randomly flicking through the stations late night and you watched and you hadn't seen the others, would probably grab you.
That's true.
And that can be said
it
with most
doesn't
franchises.
really work on its own terms. But yeah, obviously, I'm hoping that we're going to do every Land Before Time video release, and whether the Land Before Time 12 will stand up.
I think they've done 14 of them now.
Okay, cool. Well, whether Land Before Time 14...
But surely that not being horror and being a children's film, that would be more for your podcast.
Maybe I am obliged to do it on my podcast. That's a fair. Well, my podcast is children's horror, but as I defend anything that's not strictly horror, is like Who Framed Roger Rabbit on the podcast, I was basically scared of everything as a kid. So as far as I was concerned as a kid, Land Before Time, the first one, probably was a horror film. Like the bit when the mum dies, traumatic.
Yeah. On this week's episode of Still Scared, we'll be focusing on Doc Cotton from EastEnders, who scared the hell out of me as a child.
Yeah.
So, what have you got next?
So I'm not going to be able to pronounce it, so that's the issue of saying it. So. Obviously, I can't pronounce Welsh. So it's a film based. Okay, Maganon.
Right.
Okay, so Welsh is a film.
Yeah.
Early 2000s, based on like Welsh folk stories, basically like medieval Welsh folk stories. So the Black Cauldron, which we did before.
Yes.
Yeah. So the Black Cauldron is very loosely based on like Welsh medieval folk stories, like the oral tradition. This one is much more strictly based on actual. It's sort of got a semi-edutainment vibe, like it was Welsh produced, and you get the sense that maybe it was to try to get young people and teenagers interested in like their local, Welsh mythology. And it's really interesting because it's sometimes quite peaceful, and then it's incredibly bloody and violent really suddenly. It's also semi-rotoscoped, which gives it quite an uncanny vibe. Yeah. It's weird, but Matty, Ren's friend, who came, and my friend now, came onto the podcast, is Welsh and watched it as a kid in school, and knows their Welsh mythology, and so he managed to actually give a lot more context than me or Ren.
Oh, cool. And that'd be the next episode?
Yeah, it should be within the next week, actually.
Cool. So that might actually be up before this episode.
Well, it might be. It's completely edited. We always do transcripts because Ren's lovely and always wants to make the podcast accessible. Yeah. So he's very strict on that we have to have transcripts. But obviously it takes a while doing transcripts.
Yeah. So I will link, again, if you're listening on Spotify, I'll link the page.
Nice, so thanks. Yeah. And then after that, we are doing some kids horror books, which I always really enjoy doing. Did you ever read Stone Cold by Robert Swindells, which came out when we were kids?
No.
Or Brother in the Land?
That sounds familiar, but
okay. So he's one of those writers who was very popular in the kind of 90s and kind of forgotten now. But Stone Cold won the Carnegie the year it came out, so the children's book award, probably 94, 95, and it is properly nasty. It was quite a controversial win. Yeah. It's basically a split narrative between this young homeless teenage boy, and then a serial killer who targets the homeless.
Right.
And it cross-cuts between, like, you know, a chapter from the homeless kid's perspective and a chapter from the completely deluded serial killer.
This is a kid's book.
It's genuinely nasty. Like, he's got a basement full of corpses, kind of thing. It's pretty unpleasant. It was a controversial win. I think there was a period in the 90s, I think Melvin Burgess's Junk, which is about heroin addicts, might have won or got nominated around the same time. And so there was this period in the 90s where, like, you got, like, really kids, I mean, I guess young adult, but basically, you know, kids' books with really dark themes. And I don't know, it's like, for me, yeah, you could say that after, like, the Hunger Games and stuff, that's continued. But the problem with Hunger Games and everything afterwards is the kids are so capable. They don't really seem like real kids to me. Like, they always know what they're doing. You know, they're incredible at crafting and survivalism and, you know, using weapons. Whereas, like, these kind of 90s ones, they just seem like regular kids. You've just got this poor, regular homeless kid who's being targeted by a serial killer. And it just feels there's something really gritty and unpleasant about it.
Well, a lot of, you know, this is horror and sci-fi. A lot of protagonists in even adult horror films are children, because firstly, we've all been children, and there is that innocence, and that's another reason why the Phantasm movies work, because we met Mike when he was a kid, and I think we've said before that the first one, it wasn't 18 when it came out, I think it's 15 now. That could loosely be fitted into the children's horror.
Well, I have a real soft spot for these kind of weird films that, like, technically the ratings are too high and maybe they're a bit too nasty to be children's horror films, and yet they kind of feel like children's horror films. Like Paper House by Bernard Rose, who went on to do Candyman, I think is like a masterpiece. I love Paper House.
There's a horror film from the 80s called Scared Stiff as well.
Yeah, like these kind of odd film, or People Under the Stairs is another one. And People Under the Stairs, again, kind of feels like a children's movie. It's, you know, it's got lots of, like, goofy jokes and, like, traps and things, and yet it's a nasty, transgressive film. You know, it clearly, you know, isn't, you know, it's at least a 15, but at the same time it's got a child protagonist and does have that kind of vibe.
Well, I think that they know that, I mean, most kids, once they get to sort of 12, maybe a bit younger, want to watch more adult films anyway. So a lot of filmmakers and writers know that kids are going to... And also, if I was to write a kid's book, I would try to write what I think kids want to read. And that might necessarily fit into the sort of, I don't know, the criteria for what is a kid's book. Because, you know, when I was like 10, I was watching RoboCop, Terminator, and I'm not saying they didn't freak me out, but they certainly toughened me up a bit.
And it's not a bad thing, wholly, to be freaked out as a kid. And also, like, kids are interested in the world, I think. Like, and today, I don't know, I feel like kids today, you know, rightly or wrongly, and, you know, maybe this child safety bill will prevent things. I don't think it will, because I think most kids know how to use a VPN and get around internet blockers. But realistically, most kids are aware of awful things that are happening in the world. They'll see things like the genocide in Gaza, right? They'll see, you know, really tough stuff that's going on, or even at the very least, will have lost family members. Most kids will, you know, have a grandparent die, you know?
You can't shelter kids.
Not completely.
And I think cinema, books, pop culture stuff is a good way for them to, you know, face the horror.
And to try to think about them. Like, for me, I honestly think reading Stone Cold as a kid, and I did find it disturbing, but it stayed with me. And I think a lot of my kind of sympathy for homeless people, and the fact that I'll generally try to chat to people who are homeless, and, you know, like, I think probably comes from reading that book and thinking about at quite a young age how tough and scary it must be being homeless and how vulnerable you are.
I mean, kids have got to learn that there are more traumatic things in life than Spot losing his ball. You know?
And, you know, it depends on the exact age of the kid. But, I mean, I think I would have quite liked the Phantasm series if I'd watched them when I was younger,
I'm regretting
actually.
not. But I've enjoyed very much watching these films. And so far in the series, I've done the House franchise, the Chances, as we mentioned before, and all the Candymans, and all three of the live action Starship Troopers. And this is definitely the most consistent franchise. And, you know, we haven't got the heights of the original Candyman.
No.
But as a series, it works.
It stays true to its original vision
Yeah.
on some level.
And it does feel very video game.
Yeah.
As in each film is just him on this journey. And once you know the premise, I could go back in 6 months' time, just watch part 3 or just part 2. And that's in a way how the Freddy movies work and the Jason movies. And bits of it remind me of that. There's so much in these films. There is the sci-fi element, there's the horror element, not so much in the last 2, but there's the comedy element.
Yeah.
So the middle is comedy, isn't it?
Yeah, there's always moments.
And then
there are moments in this one.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a silly moment in a barn.
Yeah. And they're also action.
Yeah.
And they're really fun movies.
They are fun movies, and they're fun movies made by people who seem to be having fun while making them. Which
Yeah, and there is that family aspect. They're all the 3 of them, and the 4 of them if you count the tall man. Obviously, they probably really got on, but you just separate them because. And
I think the fact that they never really. They don't get too nasty, and it's like, yeah, there's a fair bit of gore and stuff, but like they rarely get too pervy. For instance, like occasionally they'll be like, "Hey, a beautiful lady," but it's like they never stop. Like the fact that like Reggie never gets really predatory. No. There's something, he can be a bit desperate, but like he's never, he's never too pressuring or anything. Like there's never any kind of horrible deception or like the kind of nasty stuff you get in like 2000s teen comedies.
Yeah,
like it always feels, kind of well-meaning.
Yeah, he's just an innocent, dumb guy.
Yeah, there is a kind of innocence to these films.
The pretty lady. Yeah. And in the last one, he's a lot less Well, no, he's not even creepy. A lot less. He writes a song for her.
Yeah.
It's like he just fancies her opposed to wants to get her in bed.
Yeah.
Whereas in the others, it has been that he's trying to sleep with her. But it's not that bad because he's not going to.
Yeah.
And there's strong women that he's attracted to who could beat him up anyway.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, they just have quite nice vibes somehow, these films. Like they don't, they feel like they're made by a decent bunch of people who care about what they're making, and I think that goes a long way.
Definitely. And even though the last one is a different director, it's still got that stamp.
Oh yeah,
there's slight differences, but also the differences might just be because it's that long later.
It is,
and there's different filming techniques, and there's a few little bits in it which really looked like it was done not on film.
Well, like green screen or something.
Yeah, the green screen bits, and just where it just looked like it was made for TV.
Yeah,
and
I mean, in terms of changes, I like the fact that Mike now has a slightly ratty ponytail, like his hero Reggie.
Yes, he's evolving into Reggie, as we all want to. and I was going to say it's a shame that a few of the characters aren't in much of it, but there's so much going on. It's just nice to see them.
Yeah.
And I'm still confused by the brother. Did he come back from the dead?
Who knows? Who knows?
But that's the surrealist.
That's the way Phantasm works.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I would recommend for listeners who haven't seen them checking out the whole series. Like, it's a good box set, and I've had fun throughout.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed watching all of them.
Definitely underrated. I'm just gonna find out for you guys where you can actually watch it if you're not if you're one of these weirdos who got rid of your DVD players.
What are they like?
I honestly, I'm just like, I can't stand you people.
They're not listening to this podcast.
If you're in the US, you can stream it for free on Peacock Premium and Foursome, which I've never heard of. You can rent it in the UK on Google Play Movies and YouTube, and it's available to buy on YouTube and Google as well. And I've got it in a box set from Arrow of Blu-rays that came out probably 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But there are second-hand DVDs available as well. So it has had that sort of release. It was made for DVD, but did do some of the horror festivals when it came out. Which, watching all these on Blu-ray, I wouldn't mind seeing them on the big screen, but I think only the first one was really intended for the cinema, I'd say.
Yeah, although they'd be fun to watch with an affectionate crowd who like the films.
I will mention as well that in this one we didn't mention that Daniel Roebuck's in it, who you may know as one of the FBI guys from Final Destination. He was in the teen movie Razor's Edge. Have you seen
I haven't.
A really good 80s one, very dark one, as well as being in Bubba Hotep. And I know him for being Grandpa in the Rob Zombie Monsters movie.
Oh.
But he's done so much stuff, and he's got it's a cameo. He's worked with Coscarelli before, so he's in this as well. anything Johnny dies at the end, and a lot of Rob Zombie movies. So that's a stamp of a good actor, if you ask me. Ravager, why is it called that? I have no idea.
He's ravaged the land, hasn't he?
That's very true.
The land has been ravaged by the tall man.
Yeah, so a nice way to go out.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a necessary sequel.
No.
But I'm glad it exists. I'm glad I've watched it. And would I go back and watch it again? Yeah. All of them
I would. But no, I think it puts the series to bed on a nice note. And I'm looking forward to doing a new series. So I've got this operation, so I'll probably be out of action for a month or two. But then hopefully we'll come back with the Tommy series if we can get hold of all of them.
We've got the first one. Yeah. I bought the special edition of that. I'm going to read
the manga.
So we'll do that soon.
Cool.
Maybe we'll leave it a month or a couple of months. Possibly if you're in action enough, I'd like to get you on one of my Nightmare on Elm Street episodes.
That would be fun.
Which I'm still working on.
Because I haven't seen the later ones.
Have you not? Oh, you've missed out.
Yeah, I've seen 1, 2, and 3, and I was like, they're all good, but why not watch the later ones too?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm waiting on. I'm trying to mix it with these. There's a lot of them, and get some different guests.
Yeah,
I am very aware that all my guests so far have been middle-aged white men, and that is not deliberate, but.
I've got OCD. That's like representation. I've got the OCD.
I just find that these are the people who are willing to come on and talk.
Oh no!
As in
people who are willing to spend time upstairs watching.
I'm not going to lie. There are some younger women I know who want to come on, and that will be done over Zoom, right? Because there's actually people I don't know very well, and they've asked to come on. So I'm like, we're going to do that over Zoom, right? Because I don't want that reputation. To be
right, I don't see you as Reggie, Andy.
Thanks for that. Good. The hair's going up. That might be it. Then people might listen to these. Watch Phantasm. There's no way I'm going on his show. He likes Reggie. No, but also it's people who don't. You live in the same town as me now.
Yeah.
Some of these people don't, and I'm just like, it's easier. We're actually going to do hopefully a crossover episode with the podcast of Criminal Crack, who I've been putting adverts in these and that's a crime podcast, and they're up in Scotland.
Okay.
And we're going to try to do. They've asked me to go on their one, but they do a different case.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to do it, but I'm not very knowledgeable on this sort of thing.
No.
I'll be like crying, like they've done what? They're dead? What?
It is so funny because I'm like this as well. It's like my parents are always like, oh, how can you watch all this horror? I'm like, you guys watch crime stuff about things about some actual child who got murdered. That's way worse than horror.
Well, that's the thing. And I can't watch daytime TV because I'm donating to all these charities every month just to get a soft toy of a puppy.
Exactly. Right? So exactly. I think most horror fans are pretty soft-hearted,
Yeah.
People, really.
But they're going to hopefully come on this podcast as well to talk about sort of a crime horror.
Oh, interesting.
It might not be a franchise. The film has been mentioned. I'm not sure if it will or not. Is Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Oh gosh! Yeah. Oh, heavy stuff. Yeah.
Never seen it. I've had the DVD for ages.
I owned the DVD as a teenager. Didn't get the courage to watch it and gave it to my brother, who's harder than me and quite liked it. So there you go.
Yeah, I had the DVD for ages, can't find it, and there's a special edition Blu-ray. Got that, so it's all ready to go. So there's a lot of stuff coming up, but I did warn you about this, and it's going to be difficult. I just want you to rank the Phantasm movies.
Oh gosh, okay, and this one probably gets like 2.5 stars out of 5. I'll put it something like that on Mubi. I'm so tempted to just do them in order of diminishing returns, but actually I think I like 4 slightly more than 3.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to go 1, 2, 4, 3, 5.
Okay, well for me, which I can't argue that because I'm the same. I'm looking at it and think, is it in order? But I do think 4 is slightly better than the one we just watched.
4's kind of stayed with me in a weird way. I think 4's really interesting.
So for me, it's either in order.
Yeah.
Or 1, 3, 2, 4, 5. Because I liked 3 as well.
Three's very.
Three's the one that's like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I need to rewatch 3.
Let's rewatch them all now. But, if you look on Letterboxd for 3, Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead, the background picture of Reggie just with a gun over his shoulder sells it to me anyway. But my ratings for, well, just look back, and I stand by this. 1, 2, and 3, I'm giving 4 stars for different reasons. But, you know, that's a wide range, and obviously 1 is a lot better than the sequels, but they're still, for what they are, for me, 4-star movies. And I'm going to give both 4 and 5 for same sort of different reasons, 3.5.
Okay, cool.
Because I think in those 2 movies, the 4th one is more enjoyable and probably a better film. But what they do on the budget, and it's so many years later for the 5th one, I actually quite admired.
Yeah.
And I liked it a lot more than I thought it would be.
Yeah, same here.
I said this with the last one. There was not a dud in this.
There isn't, and that's pretty impressive. I don't think you could say that about many film series.
No, even my favourite ever franchise, the Police Academy series, Part 7's rubbish.
Well, we haven't watched all of Land Before Time yet,
That's
Andy.
true.
So,
it's going to have to peak at that. I'm going to hold you to that, but I do think it should be on your podcast. I think we should definitely do that. So we should probably wrap it up there. Thank you very much, and thanks to everyone who's listened as well. As
thank you.
And
Thanks, guys.
all the episodes, I haven't got a separate, there's no separate folder or whatever. They're all on.
Maybe you need to start putting things into subfolders on YouTube, because you can do
you
that.
Can do
we can do playlists.
Well, we've got a playlist on YouTube of all the Beyond Graves and Stars. They're all there, so it's all in that. So can you put things in more than one?
Oh, probably.
Yeah, if you can, I'll do it. Now they're all up. But they're all there, all jumbled up. But I think if you are a listener who listens every episode, it's sometimes nice to not have 5 episodes in a row on the same franchise. Because I've found that with other podcasts I listen to, especially if it's a franchise you're not actually listening to.
Yeah, that's
you can forget
the
podcast.
Fair point.
But all the episodes are on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts.
Oh, well done, Andy.
And I do think they're on Audible as well.
Damn.
I think it automatically.
I'm impressed.
It's easy. I'll show you how to do it.
Okay.
It's, I found out through someone else just told me, and I'm not very good with technology. So if you've heard the editing of the show. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming on.
Cheers.
You're a busy man. I've enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed watching them with you as well.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Same here.
And we'll be back. I'll be back soon, and you'll be back as soon as you can. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm going to end it on the classic. Boy.
Hi, I'm Jem.
And I'm Victoria.
And we are childhood best friends with a true crime podcast called
The Criminal Crack. During each episode, one of us presents a true crime case to the other.
And the listener has no idea what the case will be.
So every reaction, question and twisted theory you hear is genuine and off the cuff.
So join us fortnightly on the platform of your choice.
And find us on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok by searching @The Criminal Crack.
Bye-bye.
Keep on trucking.